WGNY and WJGK HD2, Newburgh, Middletown. WGNY News, Talk, Sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Thursday's edition of Jake's Hot Takes. I am your host, Jake McVey, and I'm joined here by my lovely co-host, Matthew Galgano. How are you feeling today, Matt?
I'm feeling great today. How are you?
I'm feeling wonderful. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about today. Just a little preview for the show. Starting off, we're going to be talking about how to cripple your young quarterback, starring Trent Balk. Next up, Trouble in Paradise, the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill, where to go from here. Following that, we have, is it over for the Vikings? Maybe. Following, we have Mike Evans and longevity versus greatness. You guys are going to want to hear that one. Then we got a little wild card predictions, Chargers and Texans of Bolts and Bulls. I felt super creative on that one. And Steelers and Ravens, clipping wings or breaking steel. We're going to find out real soon. But first, I just want to let everybody know, starting next week, we are going to be doing fan takes. So if you want to hear your takes heard on the radio and discussed, make sure you email jakeshottakes945@gmail.com. That is jakeshottakes945@gmail.com. We love to hear what you guys have to say, so make sure you send in something for us. So, starting off the day. The Jaguars have fired their head coach, Doug Peterson, and rather bafflingly decided to keep their general manager, Trent Balk. Tell me what you think, Matt.
Well, I think they should have fired both of them. If they're just going to fire one, it doesn't make sense to fire one and not Balky. I mean, Balky's made some pretty awful decisions as the Jaguars head coach, general manager. I mean, he brought in Urban Meyer, and that was just a complete disaster. He also drafted Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson, and while Walker isn't a bad player, it just doesn't seem like he's as high of an impact player as Aiden Hutchinson is. So really, that was not a good pick. And really, other than drafting Brian Thomas Jr. and the obvious choice of drafting Trevor Lawrence, he really has done nothing for the Jaguars. So I really don't understand why they're keeping him around. But who knows? Maybe it's just to keep some jobs, but we'll see. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that front. I think that Trent Balk is a terrible general manager for the aforementioned reasons. And, you can argue, oh, well, he drafted Trevor Lawrence. I think you put a snail in that draft room, and he would still manage to draft Trevor Lawrence. Although I do heavily disagree with the firing of Doug Peterson. I think that this is a move that teams like to make when they think that they need a cultural reset, when really what they need in the moment is consistency. I understand that Doug Peterson might not necessarily be the best coach in the world, but I think that it speaks to his ability to rally a team and win football games. I mean, you saw in the past couple of years, the Jaguars got their first playoff win since 2017, the Saxonville Jaguars, that season when they lost to Brady in the AFC Championship. They were in a drought, and Peterson came in, and he actually managed to pull off this crazy upset against the Chargers in the first round. I say upset. The Jaguars were the higher seed, but the Chargers were up by like 28 points, 27 points at halftime, and the Jaguars managed to claw their way back. I understand that the team has not looked good, and part of that may be due to Doug Peterson, but I think if the team really wants to prioritize Trevor Lawrence's development as a quarterback, I think they need to keep Peterson around. What do you think?
No, I think Peterson has been pretty terrible this year, and really the second half of last year. I just think it's the right move to fire him. It doesn't make sense. They're going to bring someone in. I know they interviewed Robert Saleh, so maybe they'll bring him in, but there's some other options there. I don't think they're good enough to get Ben Johnson. I don't think he'll find it viable to go to Jacksonville. I just don't think they have enough defensively. Their offensive line is pretty terrible, which is pretty surprising because their offensive line is one of the highest paid in the league. But I don't know. I think a cultural reset is really what they need, and I don't think they're failing Trevor Lawrence by firing a coach. I mean, this is a second coaching change being in the Jaguars, and they're such a dysfunctional organization that I think they just need to find a culture. And I don't know, maybe hiring Robert Saleh will help lock down that defense. Who knows?
No, but that's the thing. That's what you don't understand is that you say that they need to find a culture, but firing Doug Peterson and constantly having a new head coach coming in every 2 or 3 years as soon as they don't seem like the proper option is not how you create a culture on a football team. It causes guys It's every time a new head coach comes in, it's a change of policy, it's a change of how the team operates, it's a change of the morals of the team, it's a change. So much changes between head coaches, just in terms of policy and operation and mentality and even just down to like the core values that a team has. You take a guy like Dan Campbell, who came in and, yeah, he wasn't great for his first year starting as a coach. I mean, he made a lot of really baffling decisions, but the Lions stuck around. They didn't give up on him, and he managed to establish the culture and prove himself to be a coach that is capable of winning at a high level. And Doug Peterson, we've already seen him capable of winning at a high level. He won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. I think it's a terrible decision on the Jaguars' part, and I'm going to go as far to say that if you keep Doug Peterson around with the emergence of Brian Thomas Jr., if they really nailed the draft, I think Trevor Lawrence could have won an MVP next season.
Yeah, but that's the thing is they haven't nailed the draft. They haven't had a good draft pick in ages besides Brian Thomas Jr., and that's really the only good decision that Balke has made. And it's just you got to look at what their head coach is really bringing to the table, what Doug Peterson brings to the table. He doesn't really bring anything schematically. So I just think they need a guy who specializes on either end of the ball to really jumpstart this team and get some wins.
That's the thing. I'll definitely agree with you on that front. I think Balke definitely needs to go for the aforementioned reasons. By the way, can we talk about for 1 second how awful that Christian Kirk signing was?
Yeah, that was pretty awful.
We saw the signing a couple of years ago, 3 years, $75 million? Mm-hmm. And we were all like, oh, man, this guy signed Christian Kirk for a lot. And then Christian Kirk actually had a year where he was good, and we were like, oh, wow, maybe he's actually worth the money. And in the last 2 years of his contract, it's like, where was he?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just terrible decision after terrible decision, plain and simple.
Yeah, it's very strange that he's still there, but Doug isn't. I feel like they should have fired both. But I just think it's time for a reset. I think if you ask any Jaguars fan, they'll probably say the same thing.
I think that is one of the main problems in mentality for teams. I mean, you can take another example of a team in the league right now that's kind of struggling with head coach issues, the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears are going to cripple Caleb Williams' ability to develop as a player by constantly having new voices coming in and trying to influence how he plays the game to fit the scheme and fit the system instead of allowing a coach to grow alongside a quarterback. I mean, you look at all the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and they've all had one or two head coaches throughout the course of their career. Patrick Mahomes has had Andy Reid his entire career. Lamar's had John Harbaugh. Even Joe Burrow has had Zach Taylor. And I think a prime example of taking a coach that might be slightly below average in terms of a coach, but allowing them to build a culture and let a quarterback find themselves, is the Bills and Sean McDermott. Have we ever recognized Sean McDermott as like a great coach or even like a top 5 or top 7 coach in the NFL? What do you think?
No, but he brings a lot defensively to the Bills, and even when they're injured, their defense still steps up at times when they need them to. So he still brings something schematically to the team that Doug Peterson just doesn't, and he just wasn't winning enough for him to keep his job.
But I'll speak to I will speak to Sean McDermott's ability to, because even in the first couple of years of Josh Allen's career, when he hadn't quite found his footing yet, and the Bills weren't really doing a lot of winning. They weren't really in the playoff contention talk. They weren't the kind of dominant force in the AFC that we see them as now. McDermott still kept his job, and that's because I think the Bills management recognizes that in order to prop up a young quarterback, you need to have stability. And if every time a head coach has 2 bad seasons in a row, we end up firing them, the quarterback's never going to have that kind of stability. If you take an experienced quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure Aaron Rodgers can perform just fine in a head coach carousel. But Trevor Lawrence is still young. I mean, he's only been in the league for 4 years now. And these are the most crucial formative years for a quarterback. And the fact that teams are just so willing to constantly be throwing head coaches out and bringing new head coaches in, I just think it's not smart at all on their part.
Yeah, but the Bills have had at least 10 wins for the past, 7 years?
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. McDermott has definitely earned his job. I'm not saying that that McDermott should be fired or anything like that. McDermott definitely has earned his job in recent years, but at the beginning, the Bills, when Josh Allen was in his rookie year, even that 2019 season, they were not a great football team. And I can't help but think that if the Bills had decided to, metaphorically toss out Sean McDermott with the rest of the trash behind the building, I couldn't imagine Josh Allen being the same. Even with a new head coach, even if there was a better head coach, I couldn't imagine Josh Allen turning out the same way that he did.
Maybe.
But that is all I have to say on this. And now we get into a very personal topic for you as a Dolphins fan. Trouble in Paradise, the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill. I think that throughout this whole situation, I think Tyreek is honestly completely in the right. I think he's right to kind of openly criticize. I don't want to say criticize because it's not like he's throwing harsh words around, but you can definitely see the frustration just in his voice and on his face when he's talking about his future with the team. And I think that's warranted at this point. What do you think?
Well, I think if he wants to leave, just let him leave. I think the Dolphins have a lot of needs that aren't just at receiver. Like we need they need a big running back. That we definitely some offensive line, some defensive backs, and I think if the Dolphins can get a good trade package, they should definitely take it. The thing about the Tyreek trade is that he would want to go to contender, and it would be hard to move up in the draft because there's not a lot of contenders that are early up in the draft.
Right.
Really, any contenders that are up in the draft. So I could see him going to a team like the Chargers, a team like Baltimore, or a team like Green Bay. But it's just about the trade package, and if he wants to leave, he can leave. I mean, it's not like he's won a playoff game with the Dolphins. It's not like he's done anything special with the Dolphins. I mean, he had 2 good years, probably 2 of the best years of his career. But if he doesn't want to play here, then just let him leave. That's what I think they should do.
I don't know. As a Dolphins fan, I feel like you should be, or not, I think you as a Dolphins fan should be a little more worried. I mean, this team's offensive identity has basically run through Tyreek Hill these last couple of years. And something that I'll say to Tyreek's ability is I think Tyreek covered up a lot of Tua's weaknesses as a passer with his insane speed and his insane ball tracking ability, which is what I think is the most underrated part of Tyreek's game. It's his ability to track the ball in space. I think Tua is a pretty accurate quarterback, but as you get into Tyreek's kind of preferred range, those 25-plus 30-yard throws, I think Tyreek managed to cover up a lot of Tua's weaknesses. What do you think about that?
I disagree with that. I mean, I think his ball tracking ability is definitely one of the strongest and most underrated parts of his game. But Tua's health and being available is way more valuable to the Dolphins than Tyreek Hill ever will be. I mean, we've had Tyreek tons of games without Tua, and he's just performed bad without Tua. And Tua can hit him. There aren't a lot of quarterbacks that can use Tyreek in the way he's supposed to be used. And he's had some of the best years of his career with the Dolphins. So, but really, Tua's health is a question for him. So I can see why he wants a quarterback with a more stable health and a more stable organization.
Yeah, I just can't help but see the writing on the walls that Miami is going to go through a bit of a collapse soon. Tua's health is declining. The biggest star to play for your franchise in recent memory is leaving. I've heard reports, I don't know if you can corroborate this or not, but I've seen reports that Mike McDaniel has lost the locker room a bit, that players aren't showing up to team meetings. I can't speak to the accuracy of that. Of course, I'm just going off of reports that I read on social media, which is not always the most reliable thing. Don't trust everything you see on social media, folks. Only trust most of it, and especially trust what you hear on this show. But I can't help but see the writing on the walls that things are about to get pretty ugly for Miami.
Well, the thing about McDaniel is that he hasn't really done anything either. He's had some good records, made the playoffs twice, but he hasn't stepped up in any big situations, and that's really I think he definitely deserves another 2 years in the organization, but if he hasn't proven anything by then, cut him loose.
Moving on from McDaniel and back to Tyreek, what do you think is a realistic trade package for Tyreek? Like, what do you think he's worth in this NFL economy?
A second-round pick.
You don't think they could get a first for Tyreek?
Maybe, like a late first, maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
See, because on the one hand, I'm thinking this is one of the most talented wide receivers to ever play the game, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
He doesn't necessarily have the resume that a lot of these guys have, but that's just because he is still like he's like in the middle of his career. I think it's how he ends his career that will really elevate Tyreek into that maybe like top 15, top 12 all-time conversation. But I also think about like the Christian McCaffrey trade a couple years ago and how the Panthers only ended up getting a second-round pick for him. I feel like if Christian McCaffrey isn't getting a first-round pick, I'm not sure there are many players in the league at all that are worth a first-round pick.
Yeah, but Christian McCaffrey went for like 5 second-round picks, so I feel like I forgot the exact package, but it was a lot of picks, a lot of second and third-round picks. So I feel like that kind of equates the weight of a first-round pick.
And that being said, do you even trust the Dolphins management to make the right choices, even with a big haul for Tyreek? Do you even trust the Dolphins management?
The Dolphins GM, Chris Greer, is very hot and cold with his picks. Like, he's had some good picks. Like, A-Chain was a good pick.
Yeah.
Waddle was a good pick.
Javon Holland was a late-round pick, right? Like
yeah, that was... No, Javon Holland was first round.
Oh, my bad. But... Sorry about that, folks. A little distraction there. That is going to do it for this segment. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did. CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
Storage Bar Self-Storage is a temperature-controlled facility in New Windsor. Demands for storage tend to be driven by many life changes. Box, organize, save, simplify. Servicing business, organizations, military, and residential customers. Convenient, economical, and clean. Military, veteran, public safety, local business, and senior discounts offered. Call 845-562-BOOK or 845-562-2665 to reserve your unit today.
You've long known that Newburgh Auto Spa on Route 17K utilizes top caliber products and the latest technology to give your vehicle the proper maintenance it needs. Whether it be a computerized soft cloth car wash, detailing consisting of a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper cleaning of your entire interior and exterior, or a fuel-efficient oil change from a trained technician, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Now, Newburgh Auto Spa is a full-service automotive center. That's right, Newburgh Auto Spa now offers tires, brakes, rotors, tune-ups, alternators, and more, all with the same professionalism and quality you've become accustomed to. For a full list of automotive services offered in specials, go to NewburghAutospa.com. Whether you need a basic car wash, a quick oil change, or now more extensive automotive service, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean, located at 86 Route 17K and online at NewburghAutospa.com. Now offering a full range of automotive services. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean.
Need a new oven? Then the place to go is Michael's Appliance Center. They are committed to providing excellent value and service. Whether you need a stove, washer and dryer, or refrigerator, they offer a multitude of products in every price range. Customers at Michael's Appliance Center receive exceptional guidance and support from their highly trained, knowledgeable sales staff. Shop for appliances ranging from dishwashers to outdoor grills. Visit Michael's Appliance Center, 585 Main Street in Middletown, or go online to michaelsappliance.com.
Wow, I know everybody just gets so excited when they hear the music coming back, because it means that we're back to talk some more football. And Matt, did you catch the Vikings game last Sunday?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
It was not what I was expecting.
What a
Definitely
trouncing.
not. Anyone who saw the last week's show thought we both of us thought it would be a shootout. anything but. The Lions just dominated the Vikings, and
Yeah.
that was just the last thing I was expecting. I think I took them to win that game in a
Yeah.
shootout, and they just looked awful.
Yeah, I took the Lions to win this game, and honestly, I was shocked at how good their performance was, especially on defense. Amik Robertson just is really good. He was a defensive back that they brought on to guard Justin Jefferson, and he did his job, and he did it well. But we're not talking about the Lions here. We're talking about the Vikings. My question is this an indicator of how the rest of the Viking season is going to go?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Darnold has been good for a lot of the season, and I know it's a bad look that in the biggest game of the season he doesn't show up. But they're playing the Rams, and the Lions were after him the whole night. That he was under so much pressure,
Yeah,
and the Vikings' offensive line couldn't deal with it, which is surprising because they've been pretty good all year. But they could not deal with the Lions' pressure last night. But the Rams, they go against the Rams in the playoffs this week, and the Rams' defensive pressure is just not on the same level as the Lions at all. So I think Darnold will have a lot more time to make good decisions, to make good throws. And that was a lot of the issue. He didn't have the time to process. He wasn't making good reads. He wasn't throwing the ball into the right places. And he just had a really bad game. I mean, he had his third worst passer rating of the season with 55.5, and he went for 18 for 44 with 166 passing yards. And that's pretty awful. Bad game from him. But I think it'll be better going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and just beyond that, the red zone efficiency out of the Vikings this previous game was abysmal. They had, I think, 3 red zone trips in the first half, and it's not even that they had to settle for field goals. They didn't score any points. And I just can't imagine a team making a deep playoff run if they go 0 for 3 in the first half on red zone attempts. I feel so concerned for this Vikings team right now, not only because of their offensive woes, but also because in the second half, that defense showed that if the offense is not making the game competitive, they will fold eventually. If you put the Vikings defense, if you take the momentum of the game away from the Vikings, their defense will eventually collapse. And you saw it because it was a bit of a power struggle in the first half out of Minnesota and Detroit. But in the second half, it's like the Lions could do whatever they wanted. I mean, that defense just completely shut down, and that is not the kind of situation that you can get yourself into in a playoff game.
I mean, the defense played okay. They picked off Goff twice, but when Goff is not having the game you want him to have, Jahmyr Gibbs just went off.
Yeah.
He got 3 touchdowns, 23 carries, 139 yards. He just went off. It's looking like they don't even miss Montgomery, which is crazy because he's even going to come back for the divisional.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that the Lions, I mean, the Vikings beat the Lions, and Vikings beat the Rams. Then they have to go play the Lions again. So that's really the concern: is that can the Vikings beat the Rams and then turn around and say, "Hey, let's go beat the Lions, try to beat the Lions again."
In my opinion, that's where the season's going to end for the Vikings. I think it's going to end the same way that it ended in the regular season, getting dominated at Ford Field by the Lions. I watched Sam Darnold's performance, and all I saw was regular season merchant. I get that he had a phenomenal regular season, but this is a guy that has 0 playoff experience, 0 meaningful playoff experience. Backing up Brock Purdy is not meaningful playoff experience. And it is an entirely different ballgame, one where I think experience and a knowledge of how intense the playoff football environment is actually really important. But beyond that, Sam Darnold he looked like his old self. I could see him in green out there, like his old performance on the Jets, just seeing ghosts, overthrowing Justin Jefferson on wide open red zone passes. Those are the kinds of mistakes that lose you playoff games. They lose you regular season games, and they get you crushed in playoff games.
So are you taking them to beat the Rams or no?
I'm not even confident in their ability to beat the Rams at this point. I understand that the Rams defense and the Lions defense are like a valley and a mountain. Maybe not that far apart, but the Lions definitely have a significantly better defense than the Rams. But it's scary. If I'm a Vikings fan, and I went through some of the comments on the Vikings' recent posts, and Vikings fans seem very confident in their team's ability to still have a deep playoff run. If I'm a Vikings fan, I'm terrified for this Rams matchup. It's not going to be fun. It's going to get ugly.
And they beat them earlier in the season, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but, I mean, you never know. Aaron Jones has been pretty great for them. Justin Jefferson has been consistent as ever. And speaking of consistency, Mr. 1,000-yard season, Mike Evans, did it once again in his final game of the season, managed to eclipse 1,000 yards once more, which makes his 11th consecutive seasons with 1,000 or more receiving yards. What do you think?
Well, I mean, he tied Jerry Rice, and he got his $3 million contract bonus, which seems like during the game that's all they were talking about was his bonus rather than the milestone. But it's definitely a significant milestone, and I think he's worthy for the Hall of Fame at this point.
No.
No?
No. Let's not play games here. Let's not play games.
Why not?
Here.
I mean,
no. Mike Evans.
What other receiver is doing that?
Mike Evans is not a Hall of Famer because at no point in his career has Mike Evans ever been the best wide receiver in the league. I'm not willing to put a guy in the Hall of Fame if he has never at any point in his career been the best wide receiver in the league. What kind of precedent are we setting for a player that, as consistent as he's been and as much of a franchise legend as he's been, he's been incredible for the Buccaneers throughout his entire career, and he was super important to that Super Bowl run in 2020. But I am not willing to lower the standards of the Hall of Fame just because Mike Evans is really good at getting 1,000 yards every year.
I completely disagree. I mean, how many receivers have done it? Only 2, and him and Jerry Rice. So how is he not a Hall of Famer? I just feel like it's such a achievement that he got. It's
a great achievement, but an achievement like that does not warrant a Hall of Fame case. You look at all of the hardware that Mike Evans has accrued throughout his career. I mean, he was second-team All-Pro twice. So a guy, like I said, has, according to the NFL community and the people who vote on the All-Pros and all those, he has never been the best wide receiver in the league. I think that immediately shuts down any Hall of Fame case that a player could have. How can you make the Hall of Fame if you're not the best at your position at any point in your career? And that's the crux of it. Look, Mike, and I'm not saying that Mike Evans is a bad player. I think he's at the very top end of the Hall of really great. But this is the Hall of Fame we're talking about. This is the golden jacket. This is the bronze bust that we're talking about. This is the end-all, be-all. And we're just going to give it out to a guy that is really consistent instead of dominant?
Yeah, but he also has a ring, and he was really integral to that team. And really every single Buccaneers year he's been integral to any success. I mean, would they really have any success this year without him?
Probably not. But again, being a franchise legend also doesn't constitute a Hall of Fame place. I mean, look at a guy, I'll take a guy like Eli Manning, for example. Incredibly consistent, 2 of the greatest Super Bowl runs in NFL history, and he is borderline Hall of Fame just because he has no All-Pros to his name. He was never the best quarterback in the NFL during his playing career. Is he a Hall of Famer? I think the argument is certainly there. Is he first ballot? Definitely not. Is Mike Evans a Hall of Famer? I'm sure there's an argument for it. Do I think personally that if we did add him to the Hall of Fame, it would be lowering the standards of the NFL Hall of Fame? Absolutely. There are so many guys in this league that you can argue are Hall of Famers if they retired today, and I just can't get behind Mike Evans being one of them.
So is Cooper Kupp a Hall of Famer compared to Mike Evans?
That is a very interesting question because it's kind of like the inverse. Cooper Kupp is the inverse argument of Mike Evans, where Cooper Kupp has not consistently proven himself to be one of the best wide receivers in the league. He's dealt with injuries a lot, but he has what may be the second greatest receiving season of all time behind Megatron's. And that, compared to Mike Evans' longevity case, I think they're equal. I think having a really great but a really short peak versus having an extended prime that wasn't as dominant as your contemporaries, I think those are kind of equal in my head for a Hall of Fame case. I think a Hall of Fame case needs to have both, though. I think you need to be dominant for an extended period of time, and I think at least 2 or 3 seasons. If there was even one season where Mike Evans had an All-Pro or he was unanimously the best wide receiver in the league, I would be perfectly fine with letting him in. But it's just the fact that, are we really going to reward being second best, at least second best, for a bunch of years in a row with a Hall of Fame award?
Well, yeah, he's also done it with different quarterbacks. I mean, Jameis Winston, who He did pass a lot, but he's not really a great quarterback. Baker, he's a good quarterback, but he's not great, and obviously excluding Tom Brady. But he's had different quarterbacks, and he's still been consistent. Different coaches, still been consistent. It's just, and even if there's a bad defense, he's still been consistent. Has a Super Bowl ring. I don't think there's much else he can do in his career besides break it. If he breaks it next year, do you think he's going to get in?
Well, I think he's going to get in either way. I'm saying that I think that we're lowering the standards of the Hall of Fame by letting him in. I still think he's going to get into the Hall of Fame eventually. The NFL community has just kind of had this consensus that Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer for a really long time, but I just don't understand it. I can't lie. But I guess that's one of those situations where we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I think if Mike Evans even had one All-Pro nomination to his name, I would be changing my tune just a little bit. Again, phenomenal receiver, all-time great for the generation. I can't justify it. I can't justify it to myself, but I think that's one of those things where we're not really ever going to see eye to eye on it, but I'm sure you guys can hear the music, lovely music. We are going to be going to break. After this, we're talking about our picks for the wild card round, so make sure you stick around. It will certainly be a good one right here on Jake's Hot Takes.
You know us for 50 years, Fishkill Wine and Liquor. We've been in the CVS Plaza, and we've been your trusted family-owned and operated store. Fishkill Wine and Liquor has the largest selection at the very best price in the Hudson Valley. When you stop by Fishkill Wine and Liquor, ask about our wine tastings and the sampling of other spirits. Don't waste your time at the other liquor stores that simply don't have it. Stop by Fishkill Wine and Liquor, 986 Main Street, Fishkill, conveniently located in the CVS Plaza. Oh, and make sure you tell somebody.
This is Derek Wanku, president of Walden Savings Bank, and we're looking for our next community champion. Whether it's an individual volunteer or an entire organization, Walden Savings Bank wants to recognize those doing great things in our community with $1,000. To nominate a community champion, just go to energy103fm.com, click on the WSB logo. They could be our next community champion. Walden Savings Bank, your bank, our community, waldensavings.bank.
Hi, I'm Mark Guido. For close to 60 years, the Guido family has been honored to serve our community and the wonderful people in it. Our mission has always been to serve the highest quality food and drink with the friendliest service at affordable prices. We promise to never depart from this goal, and at the same time, we are striving to meet your needs and changing tastes. My dad, Frank, and I, along with the entire staff, thank you for your patronage, your loyalty, and especially your friendship. The Port of Call and Catskill is closed for the season, and we will reopen in the spring. Of course, Frank Guido's Little Italy in Kingston, the most popular Italian restaurant in the area, is still open 7 days a week. Our mission has always been to serve the highest quality food and drink with the friendliest service at affordable prices. We promise to never depart from this goal, and at the same time, we are striving to meet your needs and changing tastes. As we enter the new year, we wish all of you peace, joy, and good health. Buon anno.
Your engine is a delicate instrument. But if you don't change the oil on a regular basis, things have a tendency to go wrong. That's why this news should be music to your ears. Because now at the Newburgh Auto Spa, you can get a free car wash with every oil change. That's right, a free car wash with every oil change.
Really?
Really. Stop into their state-of-the-art facility today and find out what quality maintenance is all about. We all need to get oil changes, so why not get a free car wash to go along with it? And while you're at it, take advantage of their 15-point vehicle inspection free of charge. That should leave you on a very happy note. Newburgh Auto Spa, located at 86 Route 17K in Newburgh. For more information, call 845-567-0009, 845-567-0009, or go online to newburghautospa.com. That's newburghautospa.com. Newburgh Auto Spa. Quick, convenient, clean.
Welcome back to Jake's Hot Takes, WGNY 94.5, 1220. It is possibly the most exciting weekend of the season coming up, Wild Card Weekend. We're only going to be talking about the Saturday games. You'll get our full takes on the Sunday games on the Sunday show. So starting off, we got Chargers and Texans, or as I like to call it, of Bolts and Bulls. I felt very creative coming up with that name today. What do you think? What are you expecting to see today?
Well, I am expecting the Chargers to just clean house with the Texans. Probably not clean house, but it'll be close because the Texans' defense still is so good. But the Texans have just shown close to nothing offensively in the back end of the season. And a win against Jacksonville, the Mac Jones-led Jacksonville Jaguars, does not move the needle for me at all.
No, definitely not.
I just think the Chargers are playing good football right now. Glad McConkey is coming into his own. Herbert really likes targeting him. J.K. Dobbins coming back is huge. They can sustain some progress through the run game. And I think the Chargers should take care of this. Herbert is hungry for his first playoff win. And I think he'll be set to go and play the Chiefs next week.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, but I'm even going to take it one step further. All right, if you're a Texans fan, all 5 of you, please lean into the radio. If you're watching or if you're listening on the radio, lean into your speaker right now. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, look me in the eyes right now. The Texans are not going to score a single point against the Chargers in their wild card game. This Texans offense is terrible, and it's terrible in a way that really frustrates me because all the pieces are there. Joe Mixon looked like a potential top 5 running back at the start of the season, and I think overall he probably is still in that conversation. C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins looked really good, but it's like every week has just grinded this team's offense down into nothing, and with how good of defense the Chargers have been playing as the season wraps up, I just don't see any world where C.J. Stroud puts it together. And that stinks because I really like C.J. Stroud as a quarterback and as a guy. I like his play style. I think he's very exciting. And we are going to watch this young man crumble on Sunday.
Well, I think they'll score some points. I think the defense is good enough to keep it close. But I think another aspect of this is that Jim Harbaugh just has more NFL playoff experience than DeMeco Ryans. I mean, he's been to Super Bowl. He's had some playoff wins. So I feel like that'll still carry over, and Chargers should take care of business.
This game might set the Texans back as a franchise. I'm being so serious right now. I think we are going to see a generational embarrassment at home out of the Texans. The cards are all on the table. C.J. Stroud, especially after the Tank Dell injury in Kansas City, we mentioned this a while ago, or on last Sunday's episode. C.J. Stroud looks so rattled, and I feel terrible for him because the NFL is not an easy game to get the hang of. And being a sophomore quarterback with as much pressure on him as C.J. Stroud did, I think it's perfectly reasonable to collapse under that pressure. Not everybody has that rock-solid mentality, especially so young into their career, but this is going to be a game that is going to change the course of the Texans franchise and change the course of C.J. Stroud's career forever. I think if the Steelers had managed to lock up the 5 seed, I think the Texans still had a chance of getting bounced, but I think it would have been a much more admirable effort. I think this is going to be one that we talk about for a while when it comes to playoff wild card upsets and Houston Texans failures.
Well, I mean, he's still in his second year. He still has a lot of time to put it together.
Yeah.
And last year he looked great. Last year he beat up on the Cleveland Browns, who also apparently had a good defense. But I think that the Chargers will get this done this time.
He just doesn't. It looks like there's just something mental about it. It looks like he's got the yips really bad. Every game since that 3-game stretch, or 3 games in 10 days stretch that the Houston Texans, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Pittsburgh Steelers went through, that was a streak of games that really separated the boys from the men when it came to the AFC. I mean, the Texans went, I believe, 1-2 in that streak. The Steelers went 0-3. Kansas City went 3-0. Baltimore went 3-0. It really separated the big dogs from the Chihuahuas, so to speak. And C.J. Stroud and the Texans are a bunch of Chihuahuas right now. And the Chargers, looking like they're finally putting some meat on the bones, looking like they're finally establishing a culture and identity on that team. I think this is going to be a big prove-it game. They're going on the road. If they win, it means they get a shot at Kansas City in Arrowhead, which might not even happen because there's a chance that Denver might upset Buffalo. But we're not talking about that now. We're not talking about them. I am just my heart goes out to all 4 of the Houston Texans fans. One of them actually just burned his jersey after hearing what I had to say about him. So
yeah,
I feel terrible for him.
The 3 Los Angeles Chargers fans are really going to be happy about this win. So we'll see.
There's gonna be 9 fans at this home game.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy. 7 Texans fans. They're gonna pop out. A couple bandwagons, and then 2 Chargers fans are gonna make the trip out there.
Yeah, I saw a post that said who has the better fan base, the Chargers or the Texans? And there was also the Eagles and the Chiefs in there. I'm like, are you serious?
Really?
Like, come on.
Is this really what we're talking about?
What's the better home field advantage? Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's get out of here.
Talk about a game that's going to be electric at home. We're moving right on to clipping wings or breaking steel. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens in this wild card playoff game. And I think I took a little gauge of how the teams of either fans are feeling. Pittsburgh Steelers fans look like they just got back from war. I have seen nothing but misery out of that franchise these last couple weeks. Ravens fans cocky as ever. I mean, the Ravens could be 0-16 and Baltimore fans would still be talking about how the AFC is lucky Baltimore didn't make the playoffs this year.
Very true.
I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a worst-case scenario first-round matchup for Baltimore. I think Baltimore should have been praying that they got to face the Chargers, or even going on the road to take on the Houston Texans. Because realistically, Baltimore's not going to have the home field advantage for a majority of the playoffs. They're probably going to have to go to Buffalo, assuming the Bills win, and then they'll probably have to go to Kansas City, assuming Kansas City wins the divisional round. Obviously, none of those are guarantees, but I think at this point, Pittsburgh is scary, but only for Baltimore. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree that this is like the worst case scenario for Baltimore, but they'll just get it done. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson is going to kick off his postseason with a bang. I think he's going to have a huge statement performance, and he's been notoriously pedestrian in the playoffs. I mean, he has a record of 2-4 in the playoffs, and he has thrown 6 touchdowns and thrown 6 interceptions. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he should win the MVP this year, and he's going to start off with a bang. I think he's going to have a good performance. And now he's never had a player like Derrick Henry to lean on in the run game. The run game has always usually been on him or on Gus Edwards.
Gus Bus, baby. Shout out Gus Edwards.
So I think he's going to get it done, and I think the Ravens are well prepared to take on the Steelers. They routed them a couple weeks ago, even though the Steelers did beat them early in the season. The Steelers we saw early in the season, for whatever reason, are not the same Steelers that are going to be playing on Saturday. And Lamar's never really had a postseason with a healthy Ravens team, besides Zay Flowers, who avoided major injury, is going to miss this game, but he'll be back for the divisional. I don't think that will affect them too much. Maybe it could affect Lamar's passing numbers, but I still think he can get it to Bateman. I still think that he can get it to other receivers they have on their team. So I think Lamar's going to have a good performance.
Yeah, I'm going to hard disagree with you on that one. As a matter of fact, I think you look historically, and I mean, you said it yourself. Lamar Jackson goes from Superman in the regular season back to Clark Kent come playoff time. He's not a playoff performer, and I think that's just a reality that Ravens fans need to accept, is that if the Ravens do win a Super Bowl in the Lamar Jackson era, it won't be because Lamar is putting the team on his back the same way that you see a guy like Joe Burrow put the team on his back in that 2021 Super Bowl run, or even Josh Allen putting the Buffalo on his back in these last couple games. You're going to have to surround Lamar with talent, and that's why I think the Zay Flowers injury is actually going to be really impactful. I think Pittsburgh has an incredibly stout defense. I think Quan Alexander, who has been kind of the spy back, his responsibility has been containing Lamar Jackson. He has more experience than anyone in the league against containing Lamar Jackson. I think that a combination of Lamar's number one target being out, combined with how well Pittsburgh, even in their worst state, have still been able to contain the run and specifically contain Derrick Henry. I understand they didn't do a great job of that recently, but this is playoff football we're talking about. Mm-hmm. This is serious business. I think that Pittsburgh is going to have to take their best shot to earn the right to get crushed by Kansas City in the divisional round.
Yeah, but it's Lamar's time. I mean, it's only a matter of time. I think he's the best player on the planet right now.
How many times is he supposed to get? He's won 2 MVPs
but
already,
he's only,
and
How
nothing.
old is he? I mean, like Peyton Manning didn't win until he was 27. Lamar's not that. I think Lamar's also 27 years old.
Yeah, I think he's either 27 or 28.
So
but.
I think people are so used to like Mahomes and like Brady being successful like when they first get in the league. It took a lot of like all-time great quarterbacks a couple tries in the playoffs to get somewhere. So I think this is his time. I really do.
I'm not saying he needs to be Mahomes to win a Super Bowl. I'm saying that he needs to at least be in the same ballpark as like Josh Allen. I mean, look at Josh Allen's playoff numbers. Even though he doesn't necessarily have the record to prove it, and even though his playoff wins come from a pretty questionable group of quarterbacks, Mac Jones, Skylar Thompson, et cetera, he still manages, even in the games he loses, he still manages to put up phenomenal stats. And Lamar Jackson just has not shown me any of that. And I understand that with each year he's gotten better in the playoffs, but that doesn't mean that I think this is the year that he's going to be able to get over the hump. I'm sure Lamar and the Ravens will get to a Super Bowl at some point in Lamar's career. I can say that with 100% certainty, but I can also say with 100% certainty that this is not going to be that year. A combination of key injuries to the Ravens and Pittsburgh being the first-round matchup. I mean, this is a nightmare scenario for the Baltimore Ravens right now. But that is all we have for this segment. When we get back from the break, we are going to be talking about the New England Patriots, the first overall pick, and the ethics of tanking. It's going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to get a little intellectual. I'm going to try and contain my temper and not let as much passion come through. So I'm just kidding about all that. Make sure you all stick around for that segment. We will be right back after the break.
Need tires? When you think tires, think Tire Discount Center. For over 50 years and 3 locations, all the brands, all the sizes. Want to accessorize your ride? Tire Discount Center. Need auto repair? Tire Discount Center. When you think tires, accessories, remote starters, heated seats, or auto repair and service, think Tire Discount Center and save time, money, and hassles. Dulcin Avenue, Middletown, Route 211, Middletown, Broadway, and Monticello, and online at TireDiscountCenter.com. Tire Discount Center.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did.
Need a new oven? Then the place to go is Michael's Appliance Center. They are committed to providing excellent value and service. Whether you need a stove, washer and dryer, or refrigerator, they offer a multitude of products in every price range. Customers at Michael's Appliance Center receive exceptional guidance and support from their highly trained, knowledgeable sales staff. Shop for appliances ranging from dishwashers to outdoor grills. Visit Michael's Appliance Center, 585 Main Street in Middletown, or go online to michaelsappliance.com.
Welcome to a new shopping experience at Market Fresh. Market Fresh stocks more items for you to choose from, including fresh produce from local farms, and they give you more savings each week in every aisle.
Whole pork spare ribs, $1.99 a pound. Tropical mangoes, 4 for $5. Scott bath tissue, 20-roll pack, $17.99 with club card.
Discover a new shopping experience at Market Fresh, Route 17K Newburgh, Fulton Street, Middletown, and Main Street, Poughkeepsie. Open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday, and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday.
Your life relies on power all day, every day. With winter upon us, winter-related storms and power outages disrupt your home life, work life, and more. Don't be left in the dark. Call Essential Power Systems, your local Generac automatic standby power dealer, protecting your family, home, and business. Already have a Generac? Ask about maintenance, monitors, and cold weather kits. Call Mike the Generator Guy for a free estimate. 845-227-0514. Online at EssentialPowerGenerators.com. Never be powerless. Get Generac by Essential Power Systems.
CDS Auto and Truck Repair is your 5-star one-stop shop for all your vehicle's needs from A to Z, offering full vehicle diagnostics. Towing is available, and they now offer fleet service. CDS Auto and Truck Repair. Call 845-563-9987. That's 845-563-9987. CDS Auto and Truck Repair, 2917 Route 9W, New Windsor.
I'm not even letting the music play for long enough because we need to get right into this, because this last week of regular season NFL games has gotten me so heated, and specifically it's the discussion around the New England Patriots. You know what happened, right?
Yeah, I do.
Explain it for the viewers. I'm so worked up I can't even.
Well, a bunch of Patriots fans are upset because they beat the Bills to not secure the first overall pick. I think now they have the third overall pick.
Yeah, they're somewhere in that ballpark. I think the fourth overall.
But Patriots fans are upset because they are not going to be having the first overall pick because they beat Buffalo's backups. Buffalo played their backups because they're primed. They're locked into the 2 seed at this point, and they're just getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
What do you think of the situation?
Patriots fans, we need to. And you know what? This goes for all NFL fans, because this conversation comes up at the end of every NFL season, the Week 17 and Week 18 games, where, why are teams trying to win when it's just going to hurt their draft position? Are you crazy? What kind of conversation are we having here? What are we encouraging out of the league? If you want teams to lose on purpose to have better draft position in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, why not just have them start tanking as soon as they're eliminated from the playoffs? If you're not going to go to the Super Bowl, then what's the point? Why not just throw every game as soon as you get eliminated from playoff contention? It's so frustrating that fans have this mentality of, my team needs to lose, but only in the last couple weeks of the season so that we can get a better draft pick. Why not just start off the whole season? If you're going to be bad, why not just start off the whole season trying to lose games so that you can go and get your nice draft pick, and then you build a franchise off of that? Does that sound like a franchise that is going to attract free agencies? Does that sound like a franchise that is going to have a good winning culture, a franchise that wants that its fans and even, theories of some management positions wanting to lose games on purpose? I mean, you look at the Texans and a couple of years ago how they fired Lovie Smith. And I understand the Texans were really bad that game, but a lot of people said that the straw that broke the camel's back was losing them the first overall pick. And that is just a mentality that I cannot believe we as NFL fans have. It gets me so frustrated. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I definitely agree with it. I think for the last week of the regular season is just a bad product that the NFL puts out. It's not, for the most part, a lot of the games are just not entertaining because most players are just not playing, because why would you? The thing is, why would you play? Because it doesn't matter. And I think the NFL should do something about it. I don't know what they should do, but I definitely don't think adding an 18th game is the solution. I don't know if they're going to do that. They probably are going to do that. It's looking like that, but they're going to do something about it. I think to improve this, the NFL should add a lottery to the top 3 picks. That's something the NBA did, and it helped a little bit. Teams still tank in the NBA, but that's just the nature of the NBA.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, teams are still going to tank. Teams are still going to try to get in that top 3. But I feel like a lottery pick where the top 3 teams are randomized in their order, that would definitely make for a better product towards the end of the year for people that are trying to get the tank. I definitely don't think it should be the bottom 5 teams, because I think the difference between the worst team in the league and the 5th worst team in the league is kind of considerable most years.
I can get behind that.
So I think the top 3 teams is really where you start entering the lottery.
But even beyond that, beyond the actual value of getting the draft pick, it hurts my heart. It's bad for the spirit of the game. And look, I understand. We're being analytical here. We're taking the most probable or the most optimal outcome that the computers and the statistics are telling us. But whatever happened to the spirit of the game, where the game was about going out there and trying to physically dominate your opponent and outsmart them and outspeed them and outmuscle them and going out there to win football games, instead of fans wanting to go out and see their team lose so that they have a better draft pick for next year? It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that we as NFL fans have come to this, that this is an acceptable mentality to have. And I don't think that teams necessarily subscribe to the tanking mentality as much as people think. I think a lot of the time it is just genuinely they are that bad. Sometimes a team can be so bad it looks like they're losing on purpose. But the fact that Gerard Mayo might have lost his job because he went out and won a meaningless regular season game, and again, to bring things full circle back to the Doug Peterson conversation, potentially crippling Drake May's development by his first 2 seasons in the NFL, having 2 different head coaches, it boggles my mind that NFL management would make a decision on whether or not to keep a coach around based on his willingness to go out there and still put on a good show for his fans and his team and his organization in the face of a Buffalo team that really could care less.
Well, I don't really think that Mayo was fired because of him winning that game. I think that was decided a long time ago. I just don't think Mayo had it as the coach of the Patriots. What I think they're going to do is they'll probably bring in Mike Vrabel to be the coach of the Patriots. I think that's probably what they wanted to do last year. But I think the Mayo deal was already done before the season ended, so they put that through. But I think Vrabel coming in and being there for Drake May will actually be a good thing for him.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I don't think Mike Vrabel is a quarterback-minded guy, and I think when you have a young quarterback on the team that you used such a high draft pick on, I think that having a quarterback-minded coach is the most important thing. Like I said, when it gets to veteran status, I'm sure the Falcons with Kirk Cousins, when they had Kirk Cousins, didn't need a quarterback-minded coach. I'm sure the Jets with Aaron Rodgers don't necessarily need a quarterback-minded coach. But I think when it's first starting out, Mike Vrabel's never been a quarterback guy. Tannehill and Will Levis and Malik Wilson, these are all guys who Tannehill had already been established as a decent quarterback. Malik Willis completely collapsed and is now a backup in the league. Will Levis is probably on his way to the exact same fate after this year's draft. I think that Mike Vrabel will probably do a good job of beefing up the team's defense and establishing a culture again, but he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that can take a quarterback, a young, talented, but kind of raw quarterback like Drake May is, and turn him into a superstar. I don't have faith in Mike Vrabel to do that.
I don't know. The Patriots are in just such a limbo right now in the post-Brady and Belichick era.
Yeah,
they're just a team that lacks an identity right now, and I feel like hiring Vrabel, he used to play for the Patriots. I feel like that can bring them some identity. So I think it is the right move.
And, why wouldn't the Patriots be in a bit of a rut right now? They were literally the most dominant dynasty in all of sports, possibly, aside from like those, pre-color film Celtics with Bill Russell. But one of, if not the most dominant dynasty in all of sports. Mm-hmm. For 20 years, they were at the top of the league, and now Brady's gone and Belichick's gone. And the football gods or the universe is going to correct for the insane amount of luck and a little bit of cheating that the Patriots got away with by punishing this team and making them really bad. But overall, I understand the mentality behind wanting to draft at a higher position and losing game. Why fans think the team should lose on purpose. I'm just saying, if you have that mentality, you're a nerd and you're not operating in the spirit of football. You're bringing too much probability and statistics and analytics. And I love analytics in football. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge numbers guy, but not when it's detracting from the spirit of the game.
I think at the end of the day, these players, these coaches all have families to feed. Like they're fighting for their jobs.
That's exactly it.
That's it. Is that this is what they live for. They risk their lives to put on this product, and fans shouldn't want them to lose. That's what these coaches live for. I think Antonio Pierce said that. He was also fired, but I think Antonio Pierce said that, and I actually really agree with that.
Yeah, and beyond just the coaches that are trying to keep their jobs, players are fighting to be re-signed or picked up in free agency by another team or just fighting to stay in the league. Mm-hmm. And I could never imagine as a fan, and let me just say this, as a Chiefs fan, I am blessed beyond belief. I understand that this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, not just for Chiefs fans, but for sports fans in general, to be a fan of the team, the it team at the peak of their dominance. But I could never in a million years want my team to go out and lose a football game on purpose, even if it's the difference between the first overall pick or not. I would never in a million years criticize my team for winning a football game. It's antithetical to the game. And to all the Patriots fans and Browns fans and Titans fans and Giants fans, you saw this situation with the Giants and the Colts in Week 17. To all of the fans who want their team to lose for draft capital, just enjoy what you have. They're not going to be bad forever. No team is bad forever except for the Jets. And you just need to appreciate the downtime that is going to be coming eventually. Because, every team bounces back eventually. And it makes me so sad that fans are willing to criticize coaches or teams or anyone because they're willing to go out there and put their lives on the line for entertainment and win football games. Last comments and then we got to go. I'm sorry. You have anything else to close out with?
Nothing else.
All right, cool. So that is going to do it for this week's episode of Jake's Hot Takes on 94.5 WGNY. If you want us to read your takes next week, Jake's Hot Takes 945@gmail.com. We will see you all next time.
WGNY and WJGK HD2, Newburgh, Middletown. WGNY News, Talk, Sports.